Aren't you excited? It has been quite a week on so many fronts. And now several platforms are like blowing up and disappearing off the face of the earth. It's a little crazy nowadays. Did you think it could get any crazier than 2020? Because we have now entered 2021. I'm so glad that you were able to join me today for Emotions, Wisdom, and Your Body. I am Kay Crystal Griffith, and I am just here as a researcher. I am not a doctor. I do not play one on TV, but I do find the most random things in hidden places. And I have learned so much about emotions and the way they sit and seat both into our body that I just want to share those pieces of trivia with you because it could make all the difference in the world as you move through your life and in how you interact with your emotions. Today will probably be short and sweet. Our first word that we are working on tonight is amazed. Our only word that we're working on tonight. The definition is greatly surprised, astonished, and to fill with wonder, to astound. Isn't that awesome? I love that one. So this is going to sound a lot like surprised, interestingly enough. So it is a positive emotion. It's one that's actually considered an adjective, but it has emotion-like qualities, especially if you liken it to astonished. So if you think in terms of amazed, astonished, astounded, in wonder, those are really what we're talking about tonight. So amazed is a response to a stimuli that typically leaves one speechless, actually. The stimuli causes the amygdala, the brain center that processes that emotional substance of sensory input and helps shape the behavioral response to that input, just like we mentioned before. So it then releases these hormones, causing a freeze reaction. Now, slightly different than the reaction we talked about with surprise last night. In this case, we still have our eyebrows that are raised, the wrinkles across the forehead, the open eyelids, like, right? And that's typically what we do. We go, oh, almost like we're trying to stop the silence from coming out of our mouth, right? Because we cannot believe what just happened. So even though the event that we are amazed by or astonished by or filled with wonder by is good or bad, the emotion that we feel and how our body processes it tends to be on the positive side, just to let you clarify that. Now, we tend to, again, drop our jaw. You saw immediately what I did. I went, oh, right? Eyes open, and our hand tends to go across our mouth. Now, some of us, when we are amazed by something, especially artwork or an interaction or something that just kind of blew you out of the water, you were totally not expecting, but triggers a deep emotional interaction and reaction, sometimes they'll cry. And this tends to fall along the same lines of why we cry. It's certain movies. If you've ever seen the movie Old Yeller, I'm shocked if anybody can get through that movie without crying. The brain and the bodies are then flooded with those emotions, including the surge of oxytocin, which is more your cuddle hormone, and dopamine, which is the happy hormone. But that cuddle hormone is also the one that then brings you to a fatigue state as well, right? So our bodies also have this physical reaction. You might notice some shaking in your legs, a flush on your chest, an increase in your heart rate. But most of all, you're going to see it here in your reaction. And then it's what begins to trigger that flood of hormones in your brain. Now, here's what happens. Interestingly enough, your body can't have too much amazement, actually. Like it just kind of stops it. Like once that release of hormones has happened, it just needs time to return to normal. But your brain, this is how amazing and complex our brain is. Your brain will continue to replay that event, that image, the actual point of astonishment, of wonder, of amazement, over and over and over and over and over again, because it triggers a place in your brain that floods the good emotional hormones, like that oxytocin, which is the cuddle hormone, right? And we all feel safe when we cuddle. When you get a good hug from somebody, man, there's nothing that beats a good hug, right? And it's not that little pat on the back like that, but it's like a deep
pressure. I'm going to hug you. I'm never going to let you go. And I love you. Right. And so that releases the same oxytocin. And then that dopamine to have the happy hormone. So these are good things, and your brain remembers these things as good things. And guess what happens? It will begin to replay those images, that one moment in time where you were like, oh, like that. That is what begins to play over and over again. And you will talk about it to anybody you can. Why? Because you want that effect in your body again. And this is all subconscious, instantaneous, but you will tell the story over and over and over again because you're like, I can't believe that just happened. And so you're in this state of disbelief, but you're also releasing the chemical brain pieces every single time you're retelling the story. So it's kind of cool the way that our whole body interacts. God is such an amazing designer and architect. It just is awe inspiring. It is truly amazing to really examine your body and how all of the intricacies work together. So countermeasures, you don't need any. This is a good thing because remember, the action is not yours, but the astonishment is, the wonder is, but the action is not. So there's no countermeasures for that release of oxytocin or dopamine within your body. Those are good things. So here's your wisdom verses. Job 32:15. They were amazed. They answered no more. They left off speaking. They were rendered speechless. So this happened all the way back in Job, in Old Testament times. So this has been going on a long time, this whole astonishment thing, right? Mark 2:12. And immediately he arose, he took up his bed and went forth before them. Can you imagine that? This is that story of his four friends had made a hole in the roof and lowered him down so he could get a touch from Jesus and be healed, right? Their intentionality was very deliberate to get that healing. But here's the kicker. He gets the healing and they were all amazed. Why were you amazed at getting what you asked for? I just love that. I just think that's awesome. And they all glorified God. You know, I could share verse after verse after verse. And I'm only going to share one more because that really is what happens when you look up amaze or amazing in the Bible. You get verse after verse that they stopped speaking, they were amazed, and they glorified God. So it's almost like once they got their voice back, all they could say was praise Jesus, right? And so in Luke 5:26, and they were all amazed and they glorified God. And they were filled, saying, we have seen some strange things today. And that is that whole concept of you are not going to believe this, right? Isn't that cool? This is the same concept that we experience even today. So here's a couple of words that I loved. So not only astonishingly, boy, that's a mouthful today. Curiously, awesome. We tend to overuse that word. Unusually, unexpected, accidentally, paradoxically, but this one I love, miraculously. And I have been a personal witness to many miraculous things in my life. And I am truly just left with my mouth hanging open going, what just happened? So cool when it does. Excellence, marvelous, wonderful, and impress. All other words to use. So how do we use this amazed word in our life as an emotion, right? Wisdom is the hearing, but we also need the understanding and application. Because remember, emotions are the wisdom to our body. So here are your 3 questions. How has amazed been showing up in your life? When have you been amazed? Have you ever been amazed? How are you amazed all the time? A lot of people are amazed by everything. And part of that is they just walk in that understanding and blessing that every single thing is a gift from God in their life. And they will walk in that full and complete. And then other people have to go, yeah, no, nothing amazing ever happens to me. And I would just challenge that. I would challenge that for a moment to tell you, have you looked at a sunset? Have you looked at a sunrise? Have you witnessed the miracle of a birth? Have you witnessed the transition of someone going home? Have you been just an inkling of a part of somebody's breakthrough, because those will all leave you amazed. And I think we would be hard pressed to think that you haven't had one of those. Because even in the breakthrough to helping someone else, sometimes, like the other day, I was going through a drive-through. I have a little sweet tea addiction. That's all I'm gonna say about that. And I needed one. So I went through and I passed somebody holding a sign. I'm not inclined every single time to do anything for everybody that I see on the side of the road. But that day I felt inclined that I was supposed to do something. So I got a little card going through the drive-through, and I came around and I passed it to them. And I don't share that story for any accolades or anything like that. I share that story because we have no idea what a $10 gift card could do for somebody on the street in a moment of absolute desperation. A granola bar, just taking the time to listen. Today, I had the privilege of working with somebody as a coach, and they shared their story, which was just, wow, awe-inspiring to see what she has had to walk through for just the last 2 years, let alone 8 homegoings in 2 years. That's a lot of homegoings for a variety of reasons. And out of it, the most beautiful, miraculous story that you hear in all of that was just rendering me speechless as I heard it. So just even listening to someone could make you part of an amazing story for them because you just took time to listen. So I want to challenge you to do that tomorrow. So here's your homework. I want you tomorrow, share with me one moment of amazement that you've had in your life, because I want to rejoice with you in it and I want to be awestruck with you. So you guys have a fantastic day. Tomorrow's word is grief, because we do need to do the opposite, right? Because we need to walk through that, because we will all experience that. And how do we do that with really majesty and grace and mercy for those who are walking through it and for ourselves who may be walking through it? So join us again tomorrow. More on emotions, wisdom, and your body. And register at kcrystalgriffith.com to receive more insights in your feeling wheel. You guys have a fantastic, blessed day. Take care.